Good evening and Tashidile everyone. So please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kunga Chundan, and I'll be the one who will be moderating the last session for the day. So I would like to take this wonderful opportunity to thank each and every one of you for joining us today on this auspicious occasion to commemorate the 87th birthday of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. Dear friends, today is a very special day as we celebrate the life of an extraordinary being who possesses infinite love and compassion for all, as we all know that, who believes that his religion is kindness, who treats every human being as his brothers and sisters, and who do nothing but spread the message of peace and harmony in the world. The world recognizes him in many ways: an embodiment of God of compassion, a Nobel laureate, a scientist, a great spiritual master, so on and so forth. And yet he always says that he is just a simple Buddhist monk. Nothing more, nothing less. And that is the essence of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. May Your Holiness live long and enjoy good health and continue to bestow us with your blessings and guidance. So with this note, I'd like to introduce to you on our theme for the session, which emphasizes on the role of spirituality to stop wars. Before this, I would like to emphasize on a very impeccable quotation made by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, which is, I quote, "We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace within ourselves." As we all are aware of the ongoing situations in our world wherein we get to hear, see, and experience the unwanted harsh realities such as chaos, desolation, violence, and inhumanism around us, we tend to get mentally disturbed and sometimes even frustrated, wondering how we actually stop this war from happening. Eventually, we human beings carry a great responsibility to try and look out for a civilized way or a peaceful solution to restore peace and harmony under the current scenarios of frequent conflicts. Having said that, I'm truly convinced that compassion and kindness would always be the key to sustain the peace and tranquility in our world. Now, without any further ado, I would like to warmly welcome our respected chairperson, Professor S.P. Aggarwalji, on the stage, and the respected speakers, Dr. Rabbi Ezekiel Issac Malekar, Father Felix Jones, Swami Shantmananda, Dr. Khawaja Iftikar Ahmed, Dr. Shernaz Cama, Dr. Amrit Kaur Basra, and Venerable Geshe Lodoe and Dr. Chandra Mohan, who will be representing us instead of Dr. Aiken Merchant, who is not able to make his presence here today because of certain reasons. And I'm sorry, sir? Right, please, Chandra Mohan. All right. So I would like to introduce Professor S.P. Aggarwalji. So Professor S.P. Aggarwalji is currently principal of Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, after doing PhD coursework in International Management Studies at University of Texas at Dallas, 1987 to 1990. He came back to India and obtained PhD from University of Sangpo, Orissa. On the basis of PhD coursework, he was awarded MA in IMS by University of Texas. He also did MBA from the University of Houston, USA in the year 1987. He is currently the principal of Ramanujan College, Delhi University since May 2000 till date. He has published several articles. Some of the notable ethics-related contributions are Role of Ethics and Values in Modern Education, in International Journal of Applied Ethics, Ramanujan College. He edited with other authors a book on ethics and governance, published by KK Publication in 2010. He published a book of Role of Ethics and Governance by Wisdom Publications in 2013. I would like to request Mr. Chairperson, Professor S.P. Aggarwalji, to address the gathering. Please.
Thank you. Once again, welcome to this last session. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to all my panelists. Since it's the last session, so all of you will have to bear with us, and I would request all the panelists to be brief and restrict to 5 to 6 minutes. I myself will not speak more than 4 minutes, so that we can have some questions in the last session and we can finish in time. Well, friends, as you know, the moderator told you that it's a session on role of spirituality to stop wars. In the last session, you must have heard that it was talked about arms and ammunition, and Mishraji very well said that why wars take place. That is one thing. And then resolving, in the end he said there are 3 things: spirituality, humanity, ethicality. Now, our job in hand is, all of you know that war takes place, and all over the world, not 1, 2, 3, but several of them together, and over the period things are going bad to worse. Now, how spirituality, of course spirituality can stop wars, there is no doubt about it. But how can we reach these leaders? How can we reach these nations, the military actions, the rulers, the decision makers, that this war is not good for humanity, and we need to do something in order to resolve these conflicts. So that is very, very important for all of us for discussion. And I'm really thankful to Tibet House and Shri Dorji that he has included the views of various religions in this last session. And, we will be hearing from them what their religion think about universal ethics and spirituality to stop these wars. Well, the basic principle which His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji always said, that it is not the question of religion, faith, or anything else, but one should be a good human being. I think if we can adopt that, if we can bring peace of mind, or we can bring world peace, probably things would be much, much simpler in times to come. And another important thing is that this spirituality which we are discussing today is a universal principle of ethics, and it can definitely resolve the issues of the world. In the end, I will again quote Dalai Lama Ji, because it is his principle of universal ethics which we are discussing today, and he has given a lot of inputs in this regard to the world peace. Well, the undisciplined, I'm quoting from Dalai Lama Ji, the undisciplined mind is like an elephant. If left to blunder around out of control, it will wreak havoc. But the harm and suffering we enroll as a result of failing to restrain the negative impulses of mind far exceed the damage a rampaging elephant can cause. So, the message is very clear that this behavior is really can be corrected with the help of spirituality, peace, harmony, and the ego or the power or the praise or the popularity world leaders are looking for can be in a different way as depicted by Dalai Lamaji, rather than showing the force and the power through other means. With this, once again, I welcome all my panelists, and I will first invite Dr. Rabbi Issac Malekar ji. He is head priest, Judha Ham Synagogue, New Delhi, former Deputy Registrar of National Human Rights Commission, spiritual master of Speaking Tree, Times of India, human activist, author of 4 books, recipient of many awards, Mahavir Mahatma Award for preserving Jewish culture and identity in India, Doctor of Jewish Welfare, Ambassador of Peace, Interfaith Relationship Award, Vishwa Shanti Padam, Lotus of World Peace, visiting professor of University of Allahabad. Welcome, Dr. Rabbi. Please restrict your speech from 5 to 6 minutes. Thank you.
Shalom. Shalom in Hebrew means peace unto you. At the outset, I would like to recite prayers and blessings for His Holiness Dalai Lama, Meshe Berak, Abotenu, Abraham, Issac, Yaakov, Moshe, Aharon, David, Shalomo, Huyabarek, Et Kebot, His Holiness, 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzing, Gyatso, Malka de Alma, Huyabarek Yate, Vaisak ke Yate, Vaishma Bekol Selote, Vekeni Rason, Venumaraman. May the God shower upon His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, His choicest blessings for joyous, harmonious, peaceful, successful, healthiest, and long 120 years of life. Because in Judaism, we don't say 100 years. Minimum life is 120 years. That is guaranteed. Before I share my views on the role of spirituality to stop the wars, I would like to share that I am in the very hall in the year 1987-88, and that time His Holiness was celebrating his 53rd birthday anniversary, very hall, and he desired and he told that time Venerable Domum Tulku, now of course my brother is here, to organize a seminar on the religion, nature and its survival. And we all came here, and we had the seminar, all 9 religious representatives, they shared their views, and His Holiness Dalai Lama said, no one will be given, like we had today in the lunch, dal, roti, that everything, sweets. He says every participant, there were about 300 participants, they will be given the tree product food. And he all went to the nearby Lodi garden. We took the chatai mat with us. We sat on the ground. He gave us only the milk, tea product, fruits, salad, and buttermilk. I remember, he says no solid food. Today only you will have the fruits there. So I remember that incident. And now coming about this, and he said also that the blue, I just remember vividly, I was talking about 87, that the blue planet is our only home, and Tibet is its roof. And it is our moral duty to protect the Tibet plateau, not for the sake of Tibetans, but for the for the health and the sustainability of the entire world. That is what he said in 1987. Coming about this spirituality, God created all of us in His own image. God created Adam on the 6th day, and it is written that God created Adam in His own image and likeness. And how is God? If you read the Psalm 145, God is compassionate, God is merciful, God is slow to anger, abundance in love, tolerance, forgiveness. All these virtues have to become in our day-to-day life. That is what His Holiness Dalai Lama said. All these moral values, ethical values, universal values are to be included in the education system, right from the kindergarten till your university level. All this has to be incorporated in the holistic education. That is very, very important. So our holy scripture is Torah. Someone asked, Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Someone asked Rabbi Hillel, will you kindly explain Torah in one sentence? And Rabbi Hillel said, what is hateful and hurtful to you, do not do to others. That is the whole of the Torah, rest is a commentary. Look at the 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments, you will see the arrangement of the 10 Commandments. First 5 Commandments are written on the one tablet, and next 5 Commandments are written on the other tablet. The next 5 Commandments are your duties, obligations to society, to the fellow men. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not stand the false witness. So we have to, this has to follow in our day-to-day life. Another most important of the Bible, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But really we do love our neighbors? I said we do not know ourselves, I do not know myself. So it is of course in the Bible, but we have to follow in practice. And secondly, as His Holiness said, cultivation of the universal human values such as compassion, non-violence, forgiveness, patience, tolerance has to be followed in our day-to-day life. To cope up with the war trauma during war and after war, during the war and after the war, people are under the fear, because I visit Israel very often and I have seen during the war time how the siren at the, at that night, midnight, 11 o'clock or even 2 o'clock, how the people are running and how they are taking shelter. I have experienced myself in Israel. So that fear, that trauma, through the spirituality, we can cope up with that. And secondly, spirituality will help get a sense of mastery and meaning from traumatic events. And as Dalai Lama ji has said, non-violence is the only way. As Mahatma Gandhi ji said, what is obtained through hatred and violence cannot be retained forever. And whatever is obtained through love and non-violence can be retained forever. And again I am repeating that we must develop a sense of oneness, of humanity, by considering other human beings as brothers and sisters. This is how we will build a more peaceful world, and that problems and disagreements can be resolved through the dialogue. At the end, I would say that we have spent many years of our life, beautifying our face and our body. Now let us beautify our soul. And I will conclude by saying this, what the Urdu shair said, जिस्म को तो बहुत सवर चुका हूँ, जिस्म को means my body, जिस्म को तो मैं बहुत सवर चुका हूँ. I have beautified my body and face all my years of life. जिस्म को तो बहुत सवर चुका हूँ, अब रूह का श्रृंगार कीजिए. Now beautify the soul. फूल को शाख से मत तोड़िए, उसके खुशबुओं का आनंद ले लीजिए, खुशबुओं का आनंद ले लीजिए.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rabbi. With various examples, you have explained everything in very few words. Thank you very much. Now, let me invite Father Felix Jones. Father Jones is a Catholic priest, and apart from his priestly and religious commitments, he is very much involved with social justice and empowerment of the poor and marginalized society. Since 1990, he was working for the rehabilitation of substance abusers in the street and homeless children, HIV AIDS affected infected persons, HIV orphans, sex workers, abandoned spastic children, waste picking girls and women, school dropouts and migrants and domestic workers. From 2008 to 15, he did many advocacy's work in the United Nations, New York. Since 15, he is the Director, Ecumenical and Interfaith Relations, Archdiocese of Delhi. Welcome, Father Felix.
Thank you. Just I read a quote. Be careful not to wear spiritualism or spirituality as a badge to decorate your ego. Many of us can wear spirituality and spiritualism to decorate our ego. There is a saying, drop a stone into water, in a moment it is gone. But there are hundreds of ripples circling on and on. Say a kind word, in a moment it is gone. But there are hundreds of ripples circling on and on. Do a kind deed, in a moment it is gone. But there are hundreds of ripples circling on and on. Do an act of violence, in a moment it is gone. In today's world, it doesn't stop with that one. We see the ripples of it circling on and on. Even if I squeeze a large elephant into a matchbox, I don't think we can condense spirituality or war within 5 minutes. It's a huge expectation from the organizers. How do I squeeze spirituality and war within 5 minutes? Okay, I appreciate your courage. Religion ideally serves several functions. It gives meaning and purpose to life. It reinforces social unity and stability, serves as an agent of social control, social change, promotes spiritual, psychological, and physical well-being, and can motivate people to work for positive social change. So religion and spirituality can be a tool both for a positive atmosphere as well as negative atmosphere. When I go through the encyclopedia of wars, out of all 1,763 known recorded historical conflicts, 121, that would mean 6.87% had religion as their primary cause. Eleven of the world's 100 deadliest atrocities began with religion. I would like to be on the same page of His Holiness Dalai Lama. Everything begins in and with you. And we have now the deadly war between Russia and Ukraine going on. So many things, so much of destruction, loss of lives, property, peace of mind. At least one thing, 5.8 million people have already fled Ukraine. A study shows 8.3 million people are expected to migrate from Ukraine and Russia. Probably all began with one wrong thought a person had. Okay, everything has a ripple effect, positive or negative. And both have a lot of support base. The deadliest gangster anywhere in the world also will have thousands of followers. And he thinks he is right. A saint may have less followers. So everything positive or negative begins with an individual. So am I going to stop war in the world? Stop aggression, negative feelings in the mind of person next to me? Who is next to me? Me myself. Then my neighbor. I'm a Christian and Catholic priest. If you ask me from my religious background, I would quote a few things which my Master Christ said. Gospel of Matthew chapter 5. I would prefer to cultivate this within me for me to be peaceful, less aggressive, loving, compassionate, forgiving, sensitive, to understand the needs of my neighbor. The point number 1 I would say is, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the place with God. Poor in spirit signifies humility. Humility is an understanding that everything begins from God, not from me. Humility brings openness and inner peace. It brings an ability to do the will of God, will of Allah, will of Ishwar, will of Parameshwar, whoever it may be. Point number 2, blessed are the pure, for they will see God, they will see Ishwar. To be pure in heart means to be free of all purposes, selfish purposes, and self-seeking motives. Even the war between these two countries, all because of selfish motives. Absence of poverty of spirit. Poverty of spirit means it is replaced by ego. Absence of compassion. That's why loss of lives and suffering brought to others doesn't mean anything to the two heads of these two nations. Blessed are the meek, point number 3. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. A person that is meek is the one who would manifest self-control. Submission to the will of Ishwar, Parameshwar or God. Even when he is hurt, even when his ego is hurt, even when he is disappointed, he will keep calm. He will have a moment of introspection with the help of the Spirit of God. Point number 4, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled with graces from God. A perpetual appetite, deep desire, ek gahri asha, ek akanksh, for virtue and justice will guide me to the attainment of that desire, a development and a reformation of myself towards righteousness. The 5th point, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Now these two countries currently, are they peacemakers or violence makers? Are they love makers or hatred mongers? So quoting from these 5 points from Christ, the last one, blessed are the peacemakers. If I am able to make peace within me, at least in the name of God I worship, as I said at the beginning, throw a stone into the water, in a moment it is gone. But hundreds of ripples circling on and on. So peacemakers not only manifest peaceful lives, but also they work to bring peace in and around themselves. They establish friendship with others. Cultivate peace between God and oneself. Cultivate peace between oneself and the others. Can I give someone what I don't have? So what His Holiness Dalai Lama says, cultivate everything within you first. If I cultivate war within me, I become the origin of war. If I cultivate love, peace, understanding, compassion, forgiveness, then I become, as Rabbi said, I become channel of these. So as a person following a spirituality's primary responsibility is create these things within me first. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Father Felix. You rightly said that it is very difficult to present in 5 to 6 minutes, but I think you have done a wonderful job. Thank you very much, sir. The next speaker, Swami Shantmananda ji.
I'm sorry.
This passion for the world and attraction for Swami Vivekananda's ideal of service to man is service to God, led a working professional in his 20s to tread a new path. The youngsters who joined the Ramakrishna order as a monastic later became Swami Shantmananda after formal monastic vows in his journey of nearly 45 years in the Ramakrishna order so far. He has spent nearly 30 years at the international headquarters of the order, that is Belur Math in West Bengal. He was in charge of the audit department for more than 2 decades and brought about many important reforms. He was also instrumental in initiating major staff welfare schemes benefiting thousands of employees. His passion for interfaith harmony inspired him to organize a world meet for peace and harmony in 2012, which was inaugurated by His Holiness and Dalai Lama. Thank you, sir. You please.
Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Mritangamaya, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The distinguished panelists on the dais, including the President, Professor Aggarwal, the venerable monks who are present here, and the other distinguished audience. As it's a very important topic, a very engaging one, all of us are really concerned about the absence of peace and harmony in the world today. So what is exactly the role of spirituality in stopping wars? Because as our Father Felix said, that it's impossible to really sum it up in a few minutes. But then every little attempt is really worth the effort. When we try to understand the role of spirituality in stopping wars, we should first try to understand the reason as to why wars occur essentially. Then only we can first must understand the cause, then we can talk of the solution. It's generally the greed for power, position, wealth, etc., which largely cause wars. Religious intolerance and the perception of difference between human beings also often leads to wars. The Hindu perspective of life is extremely conducive to peaceful coexistence. We are considering different religious perspectives. Of course, as our Holiness Dalai Lama said, it should all begin from within. That's what reiterated by Professor, our Father Felix also. So, essentially, many have talked about the need for being peaceful, being a humanistic approach. We should all practice all that. But then essentially one has to understand what exactly is the basis. Quite often today, when we talk of ethics, people ask why it all should be ethical. because you find people behaving otherwise. So it's need to have a philosophical framework on which, based on which if you understand life, probably it will be easier to undertake this journey. The highest philosophy in Hinduism, called the Advaita Vedanta, it talks about the oneness of consciousness. It says all that we perceive, the differences in the race, caste, creed, culture, nationality, everything, they are all really external and not intrinsic. It says intrinsically we are one. This oneness, the uniqueness in terms of consciousness, and that if it is understood and practiced probably in life, it can be a greatly useful tool in stopping wars. See, this this one idea of oneness, because now why do we fight with others? Why there is war? The moment we perceive a difference under any circumstance, that is what really triggers this motive for war. Supposing we understand that at heart, at our intrinsic level, we are one, and there is no difference in us, and that would greatly, help us in getting to this idea of going to wars. So, because this idea of oneness is not even religious specific. It is not exactly even a Hindu concept. Even all the religions talk about God as being the only creator. So, if we're all created by God, we are all brothers and sisters only, whichever be the God we owe our allegiance to. So ultimately, somewhere this idea of oneness is to be understood. The idea of oneness, even, if you understand it intellectually, there are great practices by which this state can be achieved. The Hindu scriptures are very detailed way in which all this can be done and practiced and achieved in life. But even if one understands it intellectually, it's possible to definitely trigger the process of peace in this world. The moment we recognize even intellectually that intrinsically we are one, there is no room for hatred, jealousy, enmity, anger, etc. because I cannot hurt myself. If we feel that we are one, how can we go to war with someone else, or how can we destroy, and so on and so forth. So actually, although this idea may be very difficult to practice or achieve at a very high level, intellectually it can be understood, and that would play a great role in reducing the conflicts, etc. Apart from that also, see, today humanity as a class, people are really moving away from religion itself. Today there is much more than talk of interfaith harmony and all that. There are no faiths where is the question of interfaith harmony. People are moving away from religion. They are no longer interested. So probably, the religious leaders as a whole, as a community, supposing we take up the task of bringing followers back to our religion, we don't have to poach and bring from other religions. Those who left our own religion, there are millions or maybe billions of Hindus who do not know a word about Hinduism. There are millions and billions of Christians who don't know a word of Bible. So today, if we can bring those people back to the fold and instill in them a basic feeling that it's so necessary to, practice the religion, because every religion, even practiced in a very minuscule way, they talk about peace, harmony, the basis, why at all we should. All that is outlined very clearly as tenets in all the religions of the world. So as a community, probably we can work towards bringing people back to an idea of a life which is entrenched or based or founded on great religious beliefs and faiths. Probably will be contributing in a major way to trigger this movement of stopping wars. In fact, as our Rabbi Malekar clearly said that these things have to be, instilled at a much younger age. People, if they have lived in a way full of conflicts for generations, it's not possible to change them overnight. So that is why, in the Ramakrishna Mission, we have taken up a nationwide program called the Awakened Citizen Program, where we are teaching children at a very young age in the middle school the necessity of living in harmony. What's the idea? While we understand others, understand other beliefs, other practices, how we can really bring about a better world. We try to work for this. We today more than 10-12 lakh children have already undergone this program. We hope it's a very small attempt, but probably it is something which will lead to the root of these kind of conflicts and war, etc. in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. You have brought up a very good narrative that, first of all, why wars, motive of wars, and then idea of oneness and living in harmony. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Dr. Khawaja Iftikar Ahmed ji. Dr. Iftikar is the founder president of Interfaith Harmony Foundation of India, a forum for interfaith and inter-civilization dialogue floated in 2005 on behalf of 200 million Muslims of India. The foundation has hosted national series of interfaith dialogue and first South Asia Interfaith Harmony Conclave. It is the first substantive interfaith initiative by the Muslim community. After this, quite a few organizations on similar lines have come up. As its president, he has participated as observer from India in World Millennium Peace Summit held in United Nations, New York, represented Civil Society of India in White House Summit in 2015. Once again, I welcome you, sir, and please give your presentation.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
This is how we Muslims greet each other. Let me give you the meaning of it. When I say Assalamu alaikum, it means I seek peace for you. And how this is being responded by others, Wa alaikum assalam, I also seek peace for you. So throughout the day, we are seeking peace, but still peace is not around. That's a reality. Professor S.P. Aggarwal sir, who is chairing these proceedings, my co-panelists, highly distinguished audience, I would like to start by extending my prayers for the longer life of His Holiness Dalai Lama Ji, who is a warrior of peace, an apostle of peace, who has dedicated his life, entire life in fact, nothing but for bringing about peace, amity between communities, countries, nations, and so on and so forth. Thereafter, I would like to associate with the fundamental theme of the conference, universal ethics. Who can dispute this? None. Because ethics, morals, or morality, I think it has an element of universalism. It belongs to each one of us. And this is one area where there are no differences. There can not be any kind of conflict or conflicting views. So I would like to associate with the very theme of the conference. The subject on which you have invited us is the role of spirituality in stopping war. Let us very briefly understand what is spirituality. Religion is about rituals. Spirituality frees us, FREE. It frees us from rituals and it brings us to the next level, which is called in Islam tariqah. You understand it by Sufism. When the soul gets uplifted, it gets into union with the Creator and with the creation. This is from where their spirituality begins. And here again, all differences, all denominations, all conflicts which may divide you and me they go away. So the topic that you have chosen is spirituality to stop war. I think diplomats have failed, politicians have failed, statesmen have failed, United Nations have not succeeded. I don't want to use the word fail with United Nations. And many other regional blocs, none of them have succeeded. The first and the foremost thing would be that let them accept that they have not achieved what they were supposed to be attained. And therefore, I have said in my abstract also, and I would like to briefly touch on that, let all these spiritual masters who never fight with each other, there is an element of togetherness between all of them, all over the globe, wherever we go, and we meet people, be given the flow. What is the subject? The subject is conflict resolution. The genius of humanity now, through the team of spiritual masters, should go into the resolution of the conflicts which humanity at large is facing and confronting with. My dear father mentioned about Ukraine. Ukraine is not alone. There are so many Ukrainians around us. Now, everybody is fighting for a just cause, with all the justifications on both sides. Negotiations are going on, conferences are being held, seminars are being conducted, books are being written, and everybody have the solution for the resolution, but there is no resolution. I'm sorry to say that. And I want to say two things very briefly, looking at the time constraint, with no complaints to you, sir, for 5 or 7 minutes. Sir. Democracy. I think there is consensus on democracy all over, among all countries, among all communities, among all nations. And what is democracy? The will and the wisdom of the majority to prevail. This is what democracy is all about. We have United Nations, the highest body. We have a Security Council. From this podium, from this floor, through this stage, and through the good office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I want to demand, let democracy should prevail in the United Nations General Assembly. The resolutions are passed many times unanimously, most of the times by an overwhelming majority. That means the conscience of the majority goes with that particular resolution or with that resolution. And the champions of peace, without naming anybody, one fine morning there are few people sitting, the masters of the destiny of the whole humanity. The unanimously passed resolution just by a veto. Just by a veto. So my dear friends, sisters and brothers, friends here and friends outside, if this world is really interested, if the civil society is really interested, if the global players who talk of peace day and night, if they are really serious, I'm sorry to say, the apparent is that they are interested. But I'm sorry to say, behind every conflict, there are players. So let me close with the prayer that here we have a blessed soul, and taking him into this exercise, besides demanding this, let us all, let these spiritual masters should come together and demand the civilized world that the majority's will and the majority's wisdom should prevail, because until and unless the conflicts will not be resolved, we can talk about all good virtues, because virtues are common, whether the Panditji from RK Mission talks about, or Father talks about, or my brother Malekar talks about, or anybody else would be talking about. There's no dispute on that. So thank you very much for giving me time. And also I would like to thank my brother, Dr. A.K. Merchant, who is not here, who has been instrumental in bringing me here, and Professor Chandra Mohan ji, to whom I consider a man who gives life to life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Khawaja. You very well explained the religion and spirituality and conflict resolution, and also gave a concrete suggestion. Probably we can conclude in the end. So thank you very much. As you said, I am also missing my friend Dr. A.K. Merchant, because we are so familiar to each other, and he has visited our college several times. So I hope he is well. Now let me invite Professor Chandra Mohan. Professor Chandra Mohan is the General Secretary, Comparative Literature Association of India, and Chair ICLA Standing Committee for Research on South Asian Literatures and Cultures. He is a Senior Advisor, Temple of Understanding, India Foundation. He is a former President, Indian Association for Canadian Studies. He is also the recipient of Global Goodwill Ambassador Award conferred by Foundation in Canada. His publications, several publications, I am not naming every one, the East and the West,
you need
dusk
not,
to
sir.
the down.
You need not.
Thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
You need not. Actually, as Khawaja Sahab has said, myself, Khawaja Sahab, and A.K. Merchant are in the group which is ordained by Dr. Karan Singh ji, and the name of the group is Harmony and Interfaith. When in the morning my friend, Aggarwal Sahab's friend, and Khawaja Sahab's friend, A.K. Merchant called me from Bombay that his mother is critical and therefore he won't be able to come, and I should substitute for him. I said, nobody can be a substitute for you, but however, as you have said, I will read the synopsis which you have already got printed in this book. So I will do that job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Chairman sir, my good friends, and here I find so many persons, friends known to me. It's indeed a great pleasure. Actually, we have been, as Khawaja Sahab said, with the gradual passage of time, we are coming to spirituality and also humanity and also ethicality. These things we can't leave now, as when, for instance, next month I'm going to Georgia, which is right below Ukraine. People are warning me, don't go there. I said, I can't resist because it's a conference and I'm committed to that. Now I read hurriedly what Merchant Sahab has written here. On the occasion of the 87th birthday celebration of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, the author of endeavors to capture the sense of deep compassion and concern for the plight of the humanity in this turbulent age full of turmoil, upheavals, massive dislocations of human population. Issues of deep concern not only for His Holiness but also for many other enlightened people of goodwill. It is certainly an ethical and moral crisis that has engulfed the majority of human race. It is high time we should question all who are in the position of power and authority and also are biters of vast amount of wealth, whether it is a religious situation or secular, or whether of the East or the West, or also whether of capitalism or socialism, is a good summing up of the current situation. Why have they or these countries, are particularly relating to United Nations, to exercise? Why have the members of the countries particularly which take to obscure and the disparities, and also here again questions, and which is a very relevant question today, where are the breakthroughs into the new realms of cultural achievement produced by the aggrandization and the majority, or the sinking ever deeper into hunger and wretchedness, when wealth or scale understand of in the past at the disposal of present-day decision makers. The second point which he raises in his synopsis is the universal ethic which urges very person to treat others, or he or she would wish to be treated in variously repeated in all the sacred scriptures, is no more existing largely. It ends, rather it lends force to the interfaith movement and is also echoed in numerous presentations by His Holiness throughout the world. From the Baha'is' point of view, he explains that this universal ethic also signifies an aspect of disjointed view of history, and in this regard, he says that I strongly believe that it is high time for us to make a resolution to priority areas where the maximum genius of humanity should go to offer solutions to the reeling frictions. A peaceful and harmonious world is the need of the hour. If politics and governance, diplomacy and economics, and the debates and the discourses are not yielding the expected result, let spirituality through its matters particularly, also through his masters, institutions, cadre, and have a free hand and floor to make its distinct contribution in paving way for the peaceful resolution of outstanding conflicts. And he ends it by summing up the whole thing to interfaith. In interfaith dialogue is a prerequisite for promotion of harmony and peace. A massive human launch in the direction is the very way forward for us to follow. And let us pledge together work for promoting amity, fraternity, and peace among nations and communities. This alone can save humanity from further disasters. Thank you. Now I can sit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Dr. Shanaz Kamaji. She will be speaking on Parsi perspective. Dr. Shernaz Cama teaches at Lady Shriram College, Delhi University. She has edited and authored several books. Dr. Cama was invited by UNESCO to initiate the Parjar project for the preservation and promotion of Parsi Zoroastrian culture and heritage, for which she has created international exhibitions and produced movies. She is advisor, Fulbright Educational Program, USIEF, Executive Council member, Temple of Understanding, Honorary Research Fellow, College of Humanity, University of Exeter member, the Arts and Humanities Research Council, UK, and International Advisory Group for European Research Council. She is Colleague at Delhi University, ma'am, please put your presentation.
I'll be speaking from here, so I hope you don't mind.
No problem.
Thank you. First of all, I agree with Rabbi Malekar. We remember very happy 6 Julys with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, planting trees with him, laughing with him at his birthday, and I wish him good health and a long, long life. Thank you very much, organizers, and good evening, friends. I am going to speak in different capacities. First of all, let me give you the preamble of the UNESCO Constitution. Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. This was said in 1945. We haven't listened. I speak very personally as a soldier's daughter. My father, the late General Setna, I remember 1962, I was very, very young. I remember 1965, I definitely remember 1972. And may I tell you all that a soldier and a soldier's family are the greatest proponents of peace. We do not want war. When a man is out in the hills, in the mountains, in the icy mountains of, say, Kargil, or in the heat of the deserts, for him, there is no enemy. There's another human being on the other side. And I think that is something we all need to remember. It's not soldiers who cause war. The second point is that let us look at India. I speak now as a Zoroastrian, and I link it very often. We've discussed this earlier with His Holiness. The Zoroastrians were refugees who sailed to India 1,000 years ago from persecution. The Tibetans came in with His Holiness in the 1950s. They were also refugees who came by land. Today, tragically, there are millions. Never before in history have there been so many refugees walking, sailing the seas. You all remember that little boy in the blue shirt who was washed up on the shore. What are we doing to our world? The third point, which I speak as a teacher of English and as a culture specialist, is that almost 100 years ago, we were supposed to have fought the war to end all wars, the Great War. And it was followed by the great pandemic, the Spanish flu. 100 years down the line, we are repeating history. We had COVID first, but we've never stopped the wars. It's not just Ukraine, it has been Syria, it has been Africa, it has been Afghanistan. And it is now that Ukraine is in our consciousness, because we have a very short span of patience and we have a very short span of interest. We forget what is happening all over the world. So all of us need to look at these points. And we also need to remember, as an English teacher, I want you all to remember the poetry that came out of the Great War. If you think of Wilfred Owen's Strange Meeting, which is after he is dead, the poet, of course, died in the war, but he's writing this poem as if he was already dead. And he writes and says, "I am the enemy you killed, my friend." And I want you to remember these things, because we forget so fast. Finally, I speak from the Zoroastrian perspective. The point is that very few people know that it's a Bronze Age prophet, Zarathustra, who speaks to God and questions why we keep fighting. Why is there negativity? Why is there evil? And he understands that there is this beautiful world of Asha, this Penta creation. And there, I think it is very important to remember that during COVID, His Holiness spoke to some of us on an online webinar from Dharamshala. And he spoke about the next great battle, which is against climate change. Each war damages our world so much more. Each war creates so much more pollution. And in Zoroastrianism, we call it the spirit of Asha, positivity, and the spirit of Ariman, negativity, falsehood, evil, hate. Each one of us in our childhood, as soon as we become mature enough to choose, we choose to become soldiers of truth. We don't wear battle armor. We wear a muslin shirt called the sudre. and we wear a girdle called the kasti. And with this, we are to fight negativity, we are to fight violence, and we are to look at the world in moral conflict and to restore cosmic harmony.